And welcome to yet another episode of Habs Unfiltered, episode 120. The Matt Smith has returned from work episode. So I'm your host Blaine Pudvey, and I am joined now by my co-host Matt Smith.
Afternoon.
So our co-host Treg Wilson is unavailable for today's episode, and he passes on his sincere condolences that he is not here to lower the IQ of everybody today. So Matt, you had a little bit of a busy week, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been living at work. It's just been the way that it's been. It's been very busy, and it hasn't helped that the weather's been a little bit terrible the last couple days. But other than that, it's nice to have a day off, and I can enjoy an espresso, and I can relax at home for a little bit and put my feet up and do this. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, your dedication to Queen and Country is an inspiration to us all.
That's what they keep telling me. That's why I
That's
got my
why.
that's why I got my CD 2 years late, but it's
That's
all
right.
good. Yeah,
That's why you got your masters now.
that's right.
Okay, so before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to just pass on a little bit of a message. We here on the show, all of our members are Canadian Forces members, and we all believe mental health and mental illness is something that we should be aware of, and anyone who wants help should seek help. Um, and it's not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength that you seek help. So, for the civilian listeners, and I know there's many of you out there, there's a lot of ways that you can get help, especially in Canada. My American listeners, I'm sorry I don't have uh, help numbers for you just at this point. I'm going to try and tweet some out later. But for those in Canada, the suicide prevention number is 1-833 456 4566, or you can text 45645. For our minors, the Kids Help Phone is available to you. You can call 1-800-668-6868. It's toll free. You can text connect, CONNECT, to the number 686868. If you need help, please reach out for it. We're better off with you here with us than we are without you. So
I'll just put one in here too. Any Canadian Forces members that are listening right now, you can use the CIF map, the Canadian Forces Member Assistance Program, and that's 1-800-268-7708, and that's staffed 24 hours, 365 days a year.
So remember, seek help. It's a sign of strength. I sought out help, and I'm much better for it. So, um, without further ado, let's just jump into our show. So the as we record, it's Sunday. The Canadians had just finished a heartbreaking loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. They play tonight against Ottawa. That's a game that it's a must-win game for the Canadians. It's a trap game, but it's a must-win game. But we'll just start with the loss to Toronto. Um, a 5-3 loss. I mean, it sounds closer than the game actually was, but it was 5-2 there for a long time. A disallowed goal. We're going to get into that later in the show for obvious reasons. um, and it was a game the Canadians had played after a week off. So Matt, what did you expect from them after a week off?
So you would think that they'd be a rested team and they'd come out hungry. Their last game against Toronto, there was no real reason not to empty the tank, and I can't say that they emptied the tank that day that the last game that they won, um, but it seemed like it was a hell of a lot more of an effort. They knew that they were going into a week off, so there was no reason not to play hard and not to come away with a win, or at least play to win. And even though I wasn't able to see the game last night, just watching the highlights, I didn't see that effort, and I saw some questionable penalties that were called. I saw some some guys that just kind of seemed like they were still on that week vacation, and it just happened that they weren't skating well, they weren't getting in the right lanes, they weren't reading the plays well, like that one that Boyd got around Petrie, and a 2-on-0 on a power play. Like, you can't do that, right? That should never happen. Yes, I said there were some questionable calls. We know that the Leafs are a team that live and die by their power play, but you can't give them that opportunity, especially a 5-on-3. And we saw that early in the game. 2 quick goals. Um, it looked like the Canadians were going to kind of mount a comeback, and then it was just penalties cut up to them again. Um, it's hard to say the team was out coached. It seems in a way that the Leafs had a little bit of help from Toronto, and that kind of shifted the way that the game ended up. Because I believe if that goal would have counted, the Canadians would have maybe put their foot on the gas a little bit, been that much closer.
Yeah, that did kind of take a little bit of the wind out of their sails.
But yeah, because that would have made it 4-3, right?
Yeah,
it would have made it 4-3. Yeah, like it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like I in the highlight package that I watched, the thing that I can get out of that is I know that Drouin's going to shoot the goddamn puck more. Like I'm not gonna chirp on him. The guy's got 11 points. He's playing the role of playmaker, but he's a guy that needs to get the puck on the net. And he had a great opportunity, and we know he's got a good backhand too. And it's just the extra moves that he's been making to just be too fancy, or to look for the pass first. Like through 16 games this year, the guy's got 21 shots, and we know he's got a good shot. So it would be something that I would like to see him do a little bit more often, because right now it's very easy to defend Drouin. Teams can see that. They're going to be like, okay, here comes Drouin. It's a 2-on-1. He's going to pass. Or he's got a wide open net. He's probably going to pass. But I saw some good things, though. Like Toffoli got another goal. I was very happy to see Byron score. I was very happy to see Kotkaniemi score. And it was how they scored as well. It wasn't just like this like bullshit, tip this, or, a scrum in front of the net or anything. Like, it took skill to score these goals. Didn't need a power play. Didn't need anything like that. So hopefully we'll see a better effort this evening against Ottawa.
Yeah, that's my hope. I kind of hope to see a solid effort last night. What I saw was a team in the first period that really, it took them a couple of minutes to get going, but then they were starting to really generate some good chances. There was an amazing opportunity for Armia, but Anderson simply stonewalled him. So for all the Leafs fans who are just crapping on Anderson all the time, saying, "Oh, we need to get a new goalie," why? He's good.
But
He
that's
is the reason.
wait till he loses a game or two, and then it's going to be
Yeah,
all him.
but
And
that's the
and,
thing.
and that's what frustrates me. I said this last year during the playoffs too, like during the bubble. They were shitting all over him, saying how it's time to move on. Let's go get this person. Let's do this. Let's trade him. Whatever.
Good, do it.
Go ahead. Yeah, you're not going to be a
Yeah.
better team because of it.
No. No. And now after he stonewalled Armia, the Leafs got a couple of there was a couple of late late penalties to the Canadians that gave the Leafs the 5-on-3. That hooking call on Mete. Yeah, it's a bit of a weak call, but at the same time, Mete was in a position and he had his stick parallel to the ice. He had his stick on the hands, and those are called all the time during the regular season. Know what I said? Regular season.
Especially when you're playing Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like well, I mean, the player was coming in with speed, the sticks in the hands. They're gonna call that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't like it, but it's gonna happen.
That's right.
Mete also got a tripping call later in the game that caused some problems for the Canadians. Another goal was scored, but the 5-on-3, that puck over the glass, automatic penalty.
That's right.
It's just horrible luck. But so the Canadiens, their lack of discipline as they lead the NHL in minor penalties because they nickel and dime themselves with a lot of these penalties are those little behind the play penalties where they get a stick in the hands or they trip a guy or they, they're just behind a little bit and they try and cheat and they get caught every single time. They're shooting themselves in the foot. So you hand a 5-on-3 to the league's best power play and then you're screwed. So
Yeah, that's a shooting. It just ends up being a shooting gallery, to be honest.
exactly. So now I know people are angry that Anderson picked up Tavares, who was in front of the net, and did go cover Matthews, who was cocked and ready to go on that first goal. Had he had gone to Matthews, that puck was going to end up on Tavares' stick, who would be wide open in front of the net, where he scores tons of goals. So it's when you're on a 5-on-3, you're kind of hoping to get a save in a situation like that. So you take away the more difficult choice. He took a guy. He had two guys to pick. He took one.
Yep.
And it happens. And there's been a lot of talk online since that game about Price not being up to his level. In the first period, Price made a spectacular toe save on Nylander on a partial break. Then he completely robbed Mikhailiev. I can't pronounce
Mikhailiev, when he got him when he laid down with the glove. Yeah.
Absolutely robbed him. So earlier on, Price was doing his job. He was keeping them in the game.
Yeah.
Yes, he gave up a power play goal against Austin Matthews, who, by the way, is leading the NHL in goals. Then he gave up another power play goal to Austin Matthews, who, by the way, is leading the NHL in goals. The third goal was a 5-on-5 goal, which is rare for Toronto against Montreal.
So is it 3 out of 5 or 4 out of the 5 were on the power play?
3 out of 5 were on the power play. Okay. But the third goal that Toronto scored was the Marner goal.
Yeah.
So Weber committed to making a big hit on Matthews, who took the hit and made the play for Marner, who was coming in with speed. Sherratt, instead of completely laying down and taking away a pass or the cut across, kind of half committed to it, and it's Marner. He's not getting paid close to $11 million a year because he's not good. So, yeah. I mean, can't really fault the goalie on that one. The second Matthews goal, maybe, because he got a piece of it. Maybe he could have got it across quicker. I don't know. The issue here is the Canadiens were giving up far too many high danger chances to a team with skill to burn. I mean, you've got their top four. We make fun of them a little bit for spending so much money on 4 guys, but those 4 guys are skilled as shit.
Yeah. But we've seen it in the past though, like even the game that the game last Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went down early in the game, but third period rolled around and Montreal's like, we can beat these guys, and they did.
Yeah.
And even the first game of the year, if it wasn't for some shoddy calls, Montreal would have won that game.
Now, the difference in all these games, when Toronto wins versus Montreal winning, the difference is Montreal's penalty kill comes through when they win. If you give Toronto 4, 5, 6 power plays, they're going to give you 3 or 4 goals.
That's right.
So last night, the Canadiens gave them 4 power plays, and they scored 3 times with the man advantage.
Yeah, one being a 5-on-3. Yeah.
Well, they scored that. Then they scored on the
the ensuing one. Yeah.
Yeah. And the issue here is that's the difference in the game with special teams. The Canadiens controlled 5-on-5.
Yep.
Their power play did okay. They generated some chances, but they couldn't score. So Montreal's power play, it didn't look bad, but they only had the one.
Had the one, yeah.
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 And the penalty kill is where they really just shot themselves in the foot. They did not cover Matthews properly, knowing full well he is their go-to guy for the shoot to shoot. They didn't stop the cross seam passes. Toronto was moving the puck almost at will. So that's the difference, folks.
Yeah. Did I hear right that something happened to Petrie in the first period or something?
He took a bit of a shot in the arm on the
Okay.
wrist there.
Okay.
He went off the ice for a bit, but he came back. He seemed okay for the rest of
Okay.
the game.
Okay.
Um, Now they had that whole week off,
Yeah.
and you would think that they'd work a little bit more on the special teams, but it just didn't seem that they did. So until they can actually sort out that penalty kill to bring it back to the power kill where they were attacking guys coming in through the neutral zone.
Yep.
I mean, Toronto didn't even have to worry about trying to get back in the zone because they would just win the face-off cleanly and stay in the zone pretty much the entire time.
Yeah. So
So
one change that I would make, and I hope they do make this change for Ottawa, is I take Mete out of the lineup.
okay,
Yes, Mete can get up the ice with speed and everything. However, the guy can't defend. And when we talk about trying to kill penalties and everything like that, he can't defend. He's not a
no,
penalty killer. He can't be trusted to kill penalties. Kulak's a much better candidate to be in that position to be out there to kill some penalties. And we've seen in the past, you put him with you could put him with Romanov, or you can put him with Petrie, and he seems to gel well with both of them. It's just he's the easier choice to take out of the lineup than Romanov or Evanston or whoever else, right? So that's the change that I would make to the lineup, and it's the same thing. It's playoff Mete from last year hasn't went away. He's still not really engaging. He still doesn't have a shot. And for a guy that's an offensive defenseman, you're 4 games in now, you don't have a shot on net. It's just like the writing's on the wall. Like the spotlight is now on you when and it's he's very low on the totem pole for the Canadians, but the spotlight's on him simply for the fact that his agent came out and said my client would like a trade. Well, right now he's playing like he's going to be a taxi squad guy, or he's going to be a guy that's going to be sitting on the bench.
he's playing his way out of the NHL at this point.
100%. Well, maybe not
Well, out
out
of
of the
Montreal anyway.
NHL, out of Montreal, 100%. Yeah.
Um, Now the Canadians have lost 4 of the last 6. It's a bit of a slide.
Yep.
And we mentioned this in previous shows, especially leading up into the season, that they can't afford to have a season where they have a long string of losses or stretch of losses. Like last year, they had 2 8-game losing streaks. This year, we're at 4 of 6 are losses in the last 6. So, does this is this going to kind of cue the coaching staff to maybe start tweaking things? Because if they don't,
We've
Bergeron
seen
is
some.
going to be forced.
So we've seen some partial lineup changes, and in my opinion, they've worked, but they haven't worked.
Well, Tatar and Kotkaniemi, that one they played against Toronto, they looked really good.
Yes.
That's a good change.
So
Toffoli on that line, he looked good.
So that's worked, and the Toffoli has worked. I'm wondering maybe if we're going to see some shifting to the D pairings.
Yeah, I would try and see if maybe trying something new with breaking up the Sherratt Weber pairing, because they did not look good against Toronto.
I would maybe. I don't really want to play 2 righties. I don't really want to play 2 righties together and have Petrie play with Weber. But you know what? Give Romanov a shot with Weber.
Well, Romanov's been having some difficulties as well. I mean,
or playing with Petrie and put Edmonston with Weber. Yeah, you got 2 guys that aren't the most fleet of foot, but at least you got 2 guys that can defend.
Yeah, Sherratt and Weber, they're not the most fleet of foot either, and they against a team like Toronto, they did not look good.
Yeah, so you could even say put Sherratt with Romanov, put Kulak with Petrie, and put Edmonston with Weber. Maybe just to see.
Yep.
Because like going into tonight, we're going to be playing the Sens. The Sens have won 4 games this year, one of them being against the Canadiens. They're the team that has been the biggest thorn in their side so far, and it's kind of ridiculous to think about that. But Ottawa's a team that can surprise. Tonight, Shabbat's going to be a game time decision. We know that he's a very skilled defender from the back end that will actually shoot the puck, unlike Mete. I did that for you, Treg. And Matt Murray, like, even though he's only got 2 wins this year on the season, career-wise, he's got very good numbers against Montreal, and he kind of seems to take it to the next level. So, looking at the game day skates, looks like Michael Haley will also be in the lineup. Their resident goon, who's played 1 game this year, and
Yay! A random fight for no reasons coming
right.
up.
So we'll see how that goes. It's only gonna be his 2nd game of the year. He only, he's a guy that averages about 7 minutes a game. So we'll see what comes of that. It might just be a guy that they want to get in the lineup. Who knows? But we know the kind of game that he plays. We'll see how tonight goes. They haven't come out and said if there's going to be any lineup changes, if we're going to see Corey Perry in the lineup, if we're going to see Byron stay in, if we're going to see anybody else change out. With Byron scoring last night, I can't really see him getting taken out of the lineup.
He played a great game last night. He sat and then he came back, and he was the Byron that everybody wanted to see.
Which is what we need to see.
Exactly. He was fast. He was strong on the forecheck. He was strong on his back check. He got shots on net. He supported Evans well, and now he's going to be playing against his hometown team. So I can't see them taking Byron out when they're getting what they want out of Byron. Same with Tatar. He sat and he looked great. He got a goal and an assist.
Yep.
He looked great, or goal and an assist. Well, got a couple points out of that deal.
Yeah.
Now the home record versus the road record for the Canadians, I think this is going to be coming into play. And I'm looking at the coaching on this.
Yeah.
So the home record, they're 5-3, they're 3-5, and the road record, they're undefeated in regulation play at 6-0-2. So when they're on the road, they're just rolling their lines. They're not really thinking about it, but then they get home and it seems like Julian's overthinking things.
It sure seems that way, because you would think you would have a better home record because you can dictate your matchups a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem that way. And you know what? I understand your mentality behind it and say we can match up again. We can match any of our lines against any line. However, when you have, and this is not a knock on a guy like Jake Evans or something like that. I love Jake Evans, but I don't want to see the Evans, Byron, Lehkonen line, or Perry, whoever's on that line. I don't want to see them matched up against a top line. And we see, and it's been something that we've been seeing a little bit too often. We see them out there against McDavid. We see them out there against the Matthews line. We see them out there against Brady Tkachuk and his line, or we see him against Calgary's top line, whatever. It's something that you shouldn't see. That's at most you should see, especially the teams of the 1A, 1B lines like Edmonton, which they only have a 1A, 1B anyway, is McDavid's line and Drysdale's line. You don't usually want to see that matchup if you can control it.
Yep.
That's when you're going to want to see the Deneau line out, or you're going to want to see Drouin's line out, or you're going to see the Kotkaniemi line out. You don't want to see your fourth line put in that position. And it's happened far too often that it's not only the fourth line that gets caught out there, it's the third defense pairing. And when Kulak's out of the lineup, you take that more defensive responsibility out of there and you put Mete, and it just seems like they're just swimming in their own zone. And you've got the fourth line stuck out there with a defense pairing. That's your third defense pairing. And it ends up either being a shooting gallery, a penalty is taken, or the other team just has liberty with the puck. They get a change in, they just tire out the fourth line, and usually it leads to a goal.
Yeah. I don't mind seeing the fourth line out there against the top line as long as it's for specific face-offs
Yeah,
where Evans is on his strong side
yeah,
and they can clear the zone real quick,
yeah,
or they get stuck out there and they can dump it out, do a quick line change. I
yeah.
don't mind that per se. Um, Although Deneau has not really played that well this year.
Dano has done nothing this year. He's had maybe one good game, maybe two. He just hasn't been himself, and I
No.
think I honestly think that not signing that contract, we've brought this up so many times. I really think this is weighing on him. 6 points this year. He's yeah. I'm
You
not
know
gonna
what
say
would
he's
help
playing
him?
his. I'm not saying he's playing his way out of the Canadians, but he sure as hell paid himself. He's sure himself. He's playing himself out of a contract, out of a lengthy contract.
Yeah. And I think what might be able to help him, we'll get into that in a minute, but one of the first things he can do is possibly try a new product from our sponsors, Manscaped. Hey, fellas, we're in the thick of winter and a storm's a brewing. It looks like 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast when you trim that hibernation bush that's taking place in your pants. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped specialize in products to make sure you're walking around town with beautiful snowballs. Manscaped is here to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels. The Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Because of their ceramic blade and advanced skin safe technology, your snags on your snowballs will be reduced. The trimmer is also waterproof, so you can trim in the shower or jacuzzi if you're a savage. The Manscaped Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The Performance Package comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. Have you ever noticed how nasty nose and ear hair is? In fact, 79% of partners polled admitted that long nose hair is a major turnoff. Might as well use the best tools to do the job. This bundle also comes with the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. The Crop Preserver is anti-chafing ball deodorant that makes your balls smell nice and make you feel like your testes are walking in a winter wonderland. The Crop Reviver is a spray toner for your balls. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts that will make your balls look up at you and say, thanks. Because that always happens when I use it. Don't get cold feet this winter. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code unfiltered20 at manscaped.com. They also have a ton of other amazing men's hygiene products on their website, from disposable mats for your pubes to foot deodorant. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code unfiltered20. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code unfiltered20. Thanks, Manscaped, for making our winter wieners look so good. So, step one.
I love that promo.
Yeah, it just fits so well.
Yeah.
So, Deneau, maybe he's being weighed down by a lack of manscaping, or
Yeah.
he's just overthinking his game. And I think one way to kind of let him get back into it is make a line change.
I
The
would say so.
playoffs last
Yeah.
year, they moved him down to a third line role with third line wingers, and they
Yep.
moved Kotkaniemi up. Now,
Yep.
KK has looked very good in the last couple of games. He's improving his offensive game. And in a game like Ottawa, I don't think it's that big of a stretch to place him in a top six role. Let
No.
him take on those extra 3-4 minutes. Let
Yep.
Deneau worry about his defensive side. Play against so-called lesser opposition. So a
Yep.
bottom 6
100%.
pair.
Yep.
Play against the bottom 6. Maybe he gets his offensive game rolling again. This is where those little adjustments are going to have to come into play.
They could put him with someone that he's used to in Tatar.
Yeah.
And put him with another defensive responsible guy like Armia. And then you can have Kotkaniemi with two guys that will shoot the puck. And we know that He's more Kakaniemi is more of a distributor than anything. Put him with Gallagher and Gallagher and Toffoli. He'll have two shooters, and then you've got a defensive responsible line, and then you can keep the Suzuki line together and not touch your fourth line.
Exactly.
I think it would work out well, and this is the this is the team that you. I don't want to. I feel that if I say anything bad about Ottawa, they're gonna fucking beat them like 10-0 or something, right? But this is a team that you can. I feel that you can experiment with a little bit.
Because of the Canadiens' depth.
Right? Yeah, you can roll some lines. You can say what works, what doesn't, and you can make changes on the fly throughout the game.
Which is clearly Julian's forte. No.
Right? Like, but this is something that this is a team tonight that you can do that with. You wouldn't want to do that against another team within this division.
Like Winnipeg, for instance.
Who
just dominate, who would be dominant up the middle if Dubois were still,
100%.
were still in the lineup.
100%. So, but this isn't this is the night if you're going to want to say, you know, what would Kakaniemi look like with these two guys? Or what would Danault look like with these guys? Or what if I put this defensive pairing together? Or what if I switch up the power play and put this guy here? Like, this is the kind of team that you can do that with.
Because of the depth. The Canadiens' depth, that's their strength. This is how you can use it. You can make these little changes and try new things. Like the Canadiens' issue right now in the last few games has been a lack of production up the middle. Now, Kotkaniemi has scored a goal. He has looked very good offensively for the last few games. And had he been given more offensive players to play with, perhaps he'd have more points in those last few games. So this would be a good time to throw him into that top six role with better offensive players. And for Danault to get him going again, move him down. Now, the issues we're seeing, I mean, Suzuki, he's had a bit of a difficult time offensively, but he still looks good defensively.
Yep.
But all these issues are experience-based issues, with the exception of Danault, who the Canadiens really need to rely on at center to help. And here's the thing, if the Canadiens had another centerman waiting in the wings on the taxi squad, I would totally put Danault in the press box tonight. Put him up there, have him regroup himself, watch the game, see where he could do better, where he has done wrong, and kind of regroup himself. But there's no one in that taxi squad, so the Canadiens don't have anything to take that break.
No, not at all.
You got Paling down in Laval. He's looking good in Laval.
He's looking good in Laval, but I would keep him there. Let him. As Treg says, and he said this a lot. You've got to dominate the league that you're leaving before you can make a big impact in your next league.
Well, he's only a second-year pro. Last year he was shuttling back and forth, and was never given a clear role.
Absolutely. Now he's got that role. Yeah. And with Belzile being out injured, and he hasn't played yet, that's another guy that you're not going to have taking minutes away from him. And we've even seen that even though they've used Jordan Wheel quite a bit, he hasn't really taken minutes away from Paling.
No, they're using Paling as a top six centerman. They're putting him in every situation.
Yeah, which they should be doing. Right.
And he's showing himself to be, he's improving. He's only had 3 games, but he's looked good in all 3.
Yeah.
And he's looked better in each one. So leave him there. He needs that, because with the way things are going, you're going to want him in the lineup next year at center. But the Canadiens need someone else that they can call upon that's sitting in that taxi squad. They do not have that. And Jordan Wheel is not the name that you think about when you think, hey, depth center. So the Canadiens
and his contract would make it a little bit difficult to bring him up and everything as well.
Well, I mean, they could bring him back up, and they could find a way to fit it in. But you're right. Yeah, it's not easy. But at the same time, he's not even a fit that they need.
No, he's not.
And that's where this issue comes up. It's great when Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are playing well. and Deneau is doing what he normally does, everything is fine. You notice I didn't mention Evans because he's been steady all season.
He has.
He has been exactly what you want from your fourth line center. He's able to step in, play 10 to 12 minutes, and not hurt you. He's even potted a couple of goals. He's looked fast. He's been good on defense. He's been good on the forecheck. So the issue centers around Deneau. And I'm not defending him, but at the same time, who do you take him out and replace him with? You don't have.
You can't, and that's the thing. Like you're. I'm not gonna say they've shot themselves in the foot,
But they did.
But we went out and we talked about this, and we talked about this with John Liu, and this was John Liu's thing as well, was them not going out and getting that depth center, and it wasn't necessarily because of Jake Evans. It was just having a depth center, having that veteran guy.
What happens if a guy gets hurt?
Because we brought up Nate Thompson, and we brought up a couple other guys, and I was a little surprised as well that they didn't go out and they maybe talk to a guy like Trevor Lewis or Brian Boyle or somebody like that.
Yeah, Devin Shore, anything.
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah.
Someone they can sign super cheap, almost league minimum even, and just sit in the taxi squad. What they've been doing with Frolik and Perry, essentially.
So that's why and it was a little bit surprising that they got Frolik and then they went out and got Perry.
Yes and no. I mean, I can see why they wanted it, but
they didn't get that. But they didn't bring in that center help.
No,
they only relied on guys to play the wing when they already had Lehkonen, Byron, Armia, etc. in your bottom six.
Now, the Canadiens are playing Ottawa tonight. Ottawa's a trap team. We really need to see a way of getting. They lost 2 of 3 to Toronto, but they had that huge comeback win. So they've shown they can score some goals, especially when they're playing their trap to perfection. Because people may not realize the trap was invented in Finland as an offensive weapon, but Jacques Lemaire changed it into a defensive one. Again, how do you think the Canadiens are going to beat that trap system tonight?
They got to use their speed. They got to move the puck, and they've got to get into the dirty areas, and they've got to forecheck, and they've got to get they've got to capitalize on second chances. It can't be they can't it can't just be shots in the goalie's chest and then 1 and out. Canadians are not a very good face-off team. So they need to possess the puck as much as possible, and they need to play their game, use their speed, and take and have Ottawa take stupid penalties, much like what Toronto did against Montreal. Force the team to take stupid penalties and take advantage of it.
Yep. If they can take build their team speed game with, it's going to start with a dump and chase system. You have on the first line, you have Anderson who will crash in there.
Yeah.
On the
I love Josh
check.
Anderson. I say this a lot, but I love Josh Anderson.
Isn't it nice?
He's been such a good pickup, and you can't really say anything negative about the guy right now. Like he's doing everything that this team wants him to do. They don't have to play him. He doesn't have to be the guy to always be out there. He can kill penalties. He's physical. He can put the puck on net, and his motor just keeps going.
So, him on the first line, crashing in on the forecheck. That's what you need. A dump and chase. He'll go in. The second line, you have Gallagher. Third line, Armia. Armia is a good puck retrieval guy. Fourth line, Byron and Lehkonen are both very capable. So
even
each
Evans last night. So I was watching some of the highlights, and he was containing a big guy like Bogosian, and Bogosian's no slouch, especially defensively.
Yeah,
and he was kind of moving him around a little bit. And Evans he plays big, but he's not really a massive guy himself.
True. Now each line has someone who can get in there. And if you can start that, because Ottawa's defense, if you get the pucks into their feet, and you mentioned Shabbat right off the top of the episode, Shabbat's a game time decision. So if he is not playing, Ottawa's defense is much less mobile, much less
100%,
experienced,
100%. Yeah,
much less talented.
yeah,
So if you get pucks into their feet or down in the corners, they'll start second guessing. They're going to have a hard time. Once that happens, you can the trap breaks down. Once the trap breaks down a little bit, it creates those gaps in the neutral zone where the Canadians forwards can build speed in the neutral zone with a little chip and chase. Sherratt, Weber, Edmondson are all very good at clearing the puck out of the zone. That's their main thing: off the boards and out, off the boards and out. In a trap game where you can create that space, that little off the boards and out play, the forward can pick that up as a chip and chase. You chip it out, he chases it down. That gap will allow them to build their speed. It's an incremental thing where they have to first start with that hard forecheck, and that they cannot let up on this. They took their foot off the gas at times against Toronto, and they took some bad penalties. In this, they have to stay very, very disciplined, and they have to keep their work ethic and their effort levels at their maximum. I know Ottawa's the last place team in the division, but Montreal has just slid down into fourth place. They've got 4 losses in their last 6. They must win this, so they have to really display that urge, that desire, that intensity that got them the start they had this year.
yeah. And this is a team that, as I said, this is the team you want to beat the hell out of.
Yeah, to get them going, because
Yeah.
Montreal's got the rest of the season is not going to be easy. That little
No,
week off that they
no,
had was great. Now they've got 37 games in 75 days.
it's
They're going to
something
be playing
ridiculous. Yeah,
essentially a game every other day.
yeah. But so
So
this is a team you want to take advantage of,
yeah,
especially if Shabbat's out. If he's out, their next highest scoring threat from the point, you're looking at a guy like Mike Riley. And
Brandstrom, talent wise.
well, I think he's still out injured.
Oh,
Maybe.
there you go.
Yeah. So, but you look at a guy like Shabbat and he plays 25 plus minutes a night. The next highest on that list is his defense partner, who plays about 4 or 5 minutes less than he does.
Yep.
So you take a guy like Shabbat out of the lineup, and that's going to really change how their power play sets up, how their penalty kill is. Excuse me. How everything really rolls. He's one of the weapons that's on that team.
He's one of their main ones, really.
Yeah,
He's a core weapon.
You take him out of the lineup, all of a sudden you're in forechecking against guys like Wolanin and Goodbranson and Zaitsev and these kind of guys, right? Instead of guys that can actually carry the puck up the ice.
So that kind of forecheck is what's going to be required. They have to get in there. Also, it looks like Allen's going to get the start, and nothing's been confirmed yet as we record.
He should though.
It's 1:00 Eastern. The scheduled method of starts is the back-to-backs. They give them to Allen. So I'd expect him to get the start, and I don't think it's going to be much of a difference for the Canadians and how they approach the game.
No.
Fans may be happy to see Allen play in net because as of right now, his numbers are much better than Price's. So that could be a factor. But yeah, it's how the Canadians. This is a game for the Canadians to lose. They need to come in with that intensity. So we'll just move on from that, and we'll end it with the last segment of the show. That disallowed goal. So you watched that disallowed goal this morning on the replays.
Yeah.
Give us what you think of it, and then I'm going to get into crapping all over it after.
So personally, to me, it looked like a goal. It was a goal on the ice when it originally happened. It looked to me like even when the goalie moved his leg, maybe the puck kind of traveled a little bit with him. Was he pushed a little bit? Was there a hell of a lot of other sticks in there too that that might have put an effort into getting the puck across the net. I think
Well,
so.
Muzzin's stick was in there too. His
But
Muzzin's stick was pushed on the leg a little bit, so there's a
I
little bit of that. But
personally, I
eh,
think, and I'm not even going to say this to be just because I'm a Canadians fan. It looked like a goal to me, and because that goal was called back, fucking Leafs Twitter just rejoiced, and oh, Sheldon Keefe, such an amazing coach, and
oh yeah,
whatever. But you know what it is, and it changed the momentum of the game, and
sure,
we
yeah.
saw what the end result was. Um, yeah, it was a goal in my opinion, and people who say that it isn't, then it's just the game's getting too soft,
Now,
right? So
on my point of view on it was, if it's a goal, it's a goal. If it's not a goal, it's not a goal.
yeah.
Either one, whatever. I
Well,
can live with either
this
one.
is what I don't like. You challenge it, and then they say, "Oh, it was goaltender interference." Well, then where the hell was the call? Or
Yeah.
where's the call after the fact? If you're gonna call goaltender interference, call penalty afterwards,
Well, and here's the
right?
thing.
Like,
They did review so they scored the goal. They
yep,
reviewed the play. They
yep,
called it a goal again. So it was
yep,
called a goal on the ice. They did a review. They called it a goal again. Then Toronto challenged. They reviewed a second time and then called it off. So the reasoning behind that we were given was just assumptions that were being made, but the first review was to see if it crossed the line. So you're telling me that the officials who are watching this review over and over and
yeah.
over didn't say, "Oh, I
That's
think we missed
probably
some goal."
goaltender interference.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then they can just say no goal at
yeah,
that point.
yeah.
But no, they didn't. They just called it, "Oh yeah, it's a goal." So they called it a goal twice. Then they go upstairs to the
Toronto,
office.
Toronto.
Yeah, and it's called back. Okay, fine. You want to call it back for goaltender interference? Cool.
Yeah,
But literally 1 hour after that goal was scored,
yeah,
Calgary scored a similar goal where Kachuk went into Koskinen and pushed on the pad. Puck came loose and Mangiapane roofed it, and they counted that as a goal. Now, the excuse from the league was that Nurse pushed Kachuk in. But if you watch that replay, and I watched it
yeah. So
dozens
did
of
I.
times,
Yeah, so did I.
Kachuk was already pushing the leg in.
Yeah,
Whether Nurse had pushed him into, who caught up to him after he had started interfering with Koskinen, even if Nurse had not touched Kachuk,
goalie
he
was
was
already
still
out of
pushing him in.
position. Goalie was already out of position. So
That's
even
right.
if the puck came loose, he was knocked down from the initial contact.
That's right. So he committed goaltender interference. Now,
Yep.
Nurse pushing Kachuk after he started interfering with the goalie, they used that as an excuse, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh well, he pushed him,"
Yeah.
but he had already started the interference.
Yeah.
And
It's
they
like the
still
one.
called that a goal.
It's like the one the other night with Thornton when they threw the puck. The puck got on net and his skate just kind of dragged by the post and hit the goalie's leg and it went in and they called that a goal. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, yeah,
So where do you draw the line? And this is what peeves me. I made a post about this on social media
yeah,
stating that
100%.
this is why people are upset about these goaltender interference calls, because
There's no standard.
there's no rhyme or reason.
No.
I swear to God, they must sit in that office, and it's the same staff that called the non-goal for Montreal,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
called it a goal for Calgary. They sit in their little office. They flip a coin. They're like, heads, it's a goal.
Yeah.
Oh, tails, it's not a goal.
Yeah.
There's
we've
no
seen
rhyme or reason.
we've seen that not just with goaltender interference calls, but um, there's been some very shoddy calls this year, not just against the Canadians, but around the league. I hate stick infractions. Hate stick infractions. What a hook might be or a slash might be in one game. If you're going stick on stick, yeah, if you break the guy's stick, it's a slashing penalty. If you're going stick on stick with somebody or trying to lift a guy's stick, it's a hockey play. It's not a hook. It's not a slash. It's not a this. It's not a that. Like, if play a softer sport if you think that's the case. Same thing as some of these regular interference penalties. Guy gets bumped into, falls down, or guy gets bumped into, and oh, he was in my lane. You know, guy skates backwards and someone accidentally bumps into him, interference. It's like, give me a break. And then you see the next game, Buddy can literally like pick the guy up and throw him against the boards. I get, nowhere near the play, and it's like, oh, you two, you guys
Yeah.
just get up and start playing again.
Well, I
There's a
mean,
lot of it. There's been a lot of inconsistencies, and
yeah.
but the ones that always come back are the ones that lead to goals, like goaltender interference calls, where you can say, yeah, they probably are flipping a coin. Somebody posted out the other day. I don't remember who it was, but they said Toronto can't let Toronto beat Toronto.
I think that was Treg using the Habs Unfiltered
Yeah,
site.
yeah, and I laughed pretty hard. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that seems about right.
Now, for me, I get your point on the calls. I know there's a lot of ticky tack calls that have been made. What irks me is not the game to game thing, because you're going to have different officials officiating different games, and there's going to be different standards. I can understand to a degree
We're
that,
even seeing that between from division to division. You see some of
yeah,
these games, and you're watching like like a Washington game, or you're watching a Vegas game, or something like that. Some of the games, these guys are beating the piss out of each other, and you're just
yeah,
like, this is good. I'm not gonna say like I don't want guys to like ever flying elbows and everything like that and whatever else, but you want to see competitive hockey. You don't want to see I almost dropped another F bomb. That's two on the show. There is a counter. Um, but I don't want to see power plays the whole night. I want to see 5-on-5. I want to see the back and forth. I want to see that. I don't want to see. Let's see how many goals Toronto can score on the power play, or let's see how many passes McDavid can get, or before they score, or something like that. And like, I know that they want goal scoring, and I know that that's the things that the NHL cares about, but it's boring. It's boring to watch, and it's the same shit every time.
there was a couple of 1-0 games that I watched Vegas play in the
Yep.
last couple of weeks, and you would swear to God that they were the fastest games that we could have possibly have hoped for.
Hmm.
They were just 1-0 games, but they were trading chances. They were
Yeah.
scoring. They scored only the one goal. But if you had never watched a game of hockey before in your
Yeah.
life, they let those two teams play,
Yeah.
and they went toe to toe,
Yeah.
and it was amazing.
I hate seeing these games that it's like, oh, well, Montreal went 1-for-6 on the power play, and Toronto went 1-for-8 on the power play, and you're just like,
Well, Toronto would have gone 7-for-8.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just it's so boring to watch. It slows the game down, and it's like, okay, dump it out of the zone. Okay, let's come in. Let's get set up. Okay, let's dump it out of the zone.
But
And
back to
it's
my
just boring.
original point on it, though. From game to game, you see inconsistencies because it's different officiating teams, but it's the within the game that same. When you have a hooking call in the first period where the guy just barely touched his hand,
Yeah,
and you call that in the first period,
yeah,
but then you have another guy literally put a stick in his armpit and haul him down, and you don't call it,
yeah,
and it's right in front of you.
yeah,
That's the stuff that irks me. It's the
yeah.
lack of
That's
consistency.
true.
Set a standard early, keep that standard. Yeah, you're going to miss a couple of plays here and there. They're only human.
Yeah.
I can understand missing plays, but if you're
A,
going to set a standard, meet the standard
a
game to
lot of the
game.
times, a lot of the time, especially within the Canadian division, and I'm going to say this because it's the truth. Montreal doesn't have that star power. They
Oh,
got it
God,
in.
no.
They've got it in their net. Yes, Shea Weber's a star. Yes, you can say that. You can definitely say that about him. However, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt that a lot of players with different names on the back of their jerseys get. The end of a game, you see Matthews, Marner, McDavid, Tavares, whoever running some interference or a hook or a this or a that. Chances are it's not going to be called. You change those names to, Matthew Tkachuk, Brendan Gallagher, any of those kind of guys, it's probably going to get called.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that as well. I mean,
Like the one that pissed me off was the The Tatar one, the one that towards the end of the game. I don't remember who he hit. I think it was Goodbranson, and he just kind of like
Snapped his head back. Yeah.
snapped his head back, and it was like we knew it was a bullshit call, and then everybody knew that.
But Branson's a big guy. He must have been hit really hard.
I know he must have just the truculence behind that hit.
Yeah. There's a lot of selling. Players are going to do what the players are going to do to try and to sell plays and get those power plays because they know that's a good chance to score.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the players at all.
No.
For me, the officiating.
I do hate the embellishment call though.
Well, here's my thing on the embellishment. Before I get back to my last point on embellishment. If you're going to call a guy for embellishment, why are you calling the hook or the trip?
Why are you calling the infraction? If you give a guy a little bit of a tug on the arm and he does a pirouette and then falls down and starts breakdancing on the ice,
you're only giving the team a 4-on-4.
Yeah,
that's not really hurting the team that's doing embellishment.
Was the infraction really that bad?
No. Right? And that's the thing. You want to get rid of diving? That's how you get rid of it. You call the dive. If the guy dives, call the dive.
Yeah.
That's it. So
that hurts his team.
That's right. And you'll see a very quick end to embellishment.
That's right.
Because no one wants those guys.
Then you don't get a team like Edmonton that can be like, oh, well, let's put out McDavid and Drysdale against the on our 4-on-4.
Yeah.
Well, that's easy, right?
But to get back to my final point, and then we'll wrap it up from there. It's consistency within a game. I think the officials are crapped on a little too much through the year. I don't think they deserve the heartache that they get from a lot of the fan bases. I've been guilty of these assumptions as well, but
I have been too, 100%.
They have a hard job. But the biggest thing that they could do to fix that is within the game consistency. Stick to whatever your call is. Yes, you'll miss some plays, but it happens. I can understand that. But just if you're going to call a slash because you broke the stick, you got to call it for the other guy.
I like to see more communication between the refs.
Yeah. Yeah.
If, for instance, there's a play behind the net, there's a hook, there's a cross check, there's a whatever. You see the ref that's beside the play not call it, and a guy at the other end of the ice calls it. Go and talk to the guy that's down there and say, what did you see? Because if the guy down there obviously did not see, he was looking at the play, he did not see an infraction on the play. So how the hell did the guy at center ice be like, I don't know, looked like he got a high stick up to me. It's like
he put down his package of Moriers, looked up and saw something. Oh, cigarette out. Oh,
like that's the thing. That's the thing that really irks me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That irks me probably more than the goaltender interference.
So now, before we sign off, do you have a prediction for tonight?
I'm not gonna say the S word. I think Allen's gonna come out and be hungry to get this team back in the win column. I can't say with the work week I just had. I can't say that I know their schedule coming up. I don't know who they're playing. I think they're playing Winnipeg for the first time.
They will be
this week. I'm gonna say the Canadians are gonna come out with more of an effort. We might see a couple little changes to the lineup here and there. I'm gonna say a 4-1 Canadians win.
Woo.
I'll say a 4-1 win. And I'll even say that Josh Anderson scores his 10th goal of the year.
That'd be nice. Yeah. I'm going to predict that Julian is going to roll all four lines without really paying much attention. And we're going to see a better outcome than we did against the Leafs because he's not overthinking things. So I think we'll end the show there. It's been about an hour of crap chucking and a lot of talk about officiating, which is abnormal on this show. But I mean, after that, we needed a moment to to vent our frustrations.
Yeah.
And I want to finish it with saying I respect I respect officials. I believe they do an amazing job. A lot of the time they're crapped on unnecessarily, but no one's perfect, and we need to understand that. But they could help themselves a little bit more with consistency. And for those who are upset about the refused goal against Montreal, them's the breaks, guys. These are the things that are going to happen through a season. It's just it's one of those things where you look at the goal scored almost identically later, and you're like, did they flip a coin? And I say yes. Prove me wrong. If you think that they're not in that office flipping coins to decide goals, send me an email. Tell me how they're not doing that. And good luck, because it seems too random to not be a coin. So we'll end the show there. I want to thank everyone for listening. Matt, you had something you wanted to pass on?
Before we let you guys go, Tricolor Spore came out and they said that they have reverse retro jerseys for certain players back in stock. So if you want to get your hands on a reverse retro jersey, this is probably the time to do it. Also, I want to give a shout out to Everything Hockey. They use they're at the tag A Clothing. I'm wearing one of their sweaters right now. They make some really good stuff. They have a hell of a lot of products on their website, and they've got a good Twitter page. You can go check them out. They've got sales going on all the time. They've got a hell of a lot of designs they can do for shirts and sweaters. They do stuff for women's hockey. They do stuff for mental health, etc. So it's definitely something you guys should check out.
Absolutely. Also, if you're looking for a good charity to get involved with, Vets Canada is a great one.
Yeah,
I volunteer with them. I've been involved with them for a few years. They help the homeless veterans, so that's a good one. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, checking in, following our YouTube. Now, the last week there was some I had some corrupted files, and I could not post our last episode online. I promise that's not going to happen this week. We will get that video out there because everyone deserves to have more Matt in their life. I know I was missing him. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if you are talking about it, so are we.